Hello and welcome back to the kookiest corner in YouTube for another scintillating episode of What Have You Been Doing This Week? Well, I'm glad you asked. What I have been doing this week is doing something that I've never done before. I've never done before. And I think it was when I made the fabric eggs, which is in a video last week, kind of set me off on a tangent. I was set off on a tangent, and the tangent I got set off onto was English paper piecing. What, you may say? And I say, well, English paper piecing, or EPP, is a form of quilting. I've never done quilting. I have often bought fat quarters, or whatever you like to call them, patchwork fabrics, because I liked the look of them. And that was mainly the reason I bought them. I didn't have any ideas in mind as to what I may do with these, so it is a collection of many years. To be honest, I have made some face masks out of some of them, so they were quite useful in some ways during pandemic times. Yes, so this little basket of tricks that you see in front of you here is a culmination of a few days worth of completely throwing myself into learning how to do this English paper piece work. English paper piecing. Something like that. EPP, English paper piecing. Yeah, that's what it is. I've been watching a YouTube channel by a lovely lady called Kate, and her podcast is called The Last Homely House. I have absolutely loved watching all of her videos, and she does lots of things. She makes things, she paints things. She is a patchwork maker. She also sews lots of other things. She knits. She has chickens. All I can say is go over to The Last Homely House and just watch one of Kate's videos, because they're really friendly. She's such a lovely lady to watch, and it's kind of very homely, and it makes you feel cozy and just really nice. So, having done my fabric eggs, I thought, okay, I've got all this fabric here, I need to do something with it, apart from make eggs, which is also a wonderful way to do, to do things with it. But so my thought was, I know that Kate does quilts, and I was seeing a beautiful quilt that she was making for her granddaughter Agnes, and I thought, I could do something like that. So I went back to her channel and I watched through a few of her videos on how she made the quilt for her granddaughter, or how she's making, because I think she's still in the processes of finishing it up. And this is what I came up with. So the English paper piecing that I am going to be doing is based on hexagons, or hexes as they are known. And the hexagons that I am using are, let me grab one of these. These I've cut out of an old brochure, so it's probably not the best one to show you. The extra deep double drawers are equipped with high quality self-closing mechanisms and a large two-piece cutlery tray. Well, that's very interesting, isn't it? So yes, I have decided to make a quilt with these tiny boys here. Yes, I do have to go for the small option. Couldn't do simple, couldn't do squares, couldn't do big squares. No, my brain says, let's do tiny hexagons. So that's what I'm doing. These are known as 1-inch hexagons. Now the 1 inch doesn't mean that bit or that bit. It is the edge of the hexagon, which is the 1 inch. And when they are made up, well, you can see a whole variety of them here that I've been making up. Let's grab one, shall we? Let's grab that one. That is that. If you can see. Now how these work is, let me put that one down, put you back in your order, because I like to have a little order, even though I might seem the least orderly person that you've ever met in your whole life. But no, I do have order sometimes. And so let's find a nice piece here. So what you have to do is, you don't have to cut your fabric that you're going to fold over these into hexagons as well, but I'm extra, so I did that as well. And what happens is, you put your paper piece, and that's where the English paper piecing comes from, into the center of your fabric that you want to use. And what happens is, you fold it over, and you have to fold it really closely and tightly over your template, so you have to kind of finger press it down. And then in that point there, you'd put a little stitch. I'll show you in a minute. I'll show you how I do it. So basically you go around and put a little stitch in each one, and you end up with a hexagon. Now, I like colour, as you know. You've been with me for a while. If you haven't, my name is Kooky. I like colour in a very big way, and my colour extends into everything that I do. So everything I do is very bright, and so this is not going to be any exception. I'm sorry, I'm not going to break any rules and go all cream and pastel. No. So I've actually managed to put 3 together here. Look, this is kind of like a foreshadowing of what is to come because I've managed to piece these together. So anyway, let me show you how I put one together, and then I'll show you how they get joined together. Okay, so we're back in the room, and I have got myself set up with everything I will need to make one hexagon, or hexy, or whatever you want to call it. So turn it down, turn it round even, and then I will, just for the purposes of trying to keep it in place, put a smidgen of Pritt stick on here. Now this won't harm your fabric, and it probably won't last very long anyway, because what happens is it just keeps that in place. So now I am folding over that edge. Hopefully you can see this. Finger pressing it down, going around in a clockwise fashion, and folding that down. Now I have my needle, which I have pre-threaded, because you know my fun of threading needles when I'm actually on camera. So I'm learning to pre-thread. See that? Just one little stitch. So then you fold down your next edge very tightly against your paper patchwork pattern, because the whole point of this is it's got to be very accurate. If you don't have your accurate pieces, then they won't fit together as well as they should. Hopefully you can still see this, and I've not suddenly slid off camera. I do have a tendency to do that sometimes. One of these days I will have an actual proper setup with my camera. One day when I'm grown up. I don't think that's ever going to be coming a day. I will get a proper setup though at some point. And so every single one of these little folds, you go into the fabric underneath and the fabric on top, and you're just holding it in position. It's a tacking stitch. You're not going through the paper, you're just going through the fabric. And ooh, Pritt Stick's gone for a button there. There we go. And then when we get back to the beginning, just put a little knot in the end of there, wind it around 3 times, pull it tight, grab your snippy scissors, snip it off, and there's your little patchwork piece. How cool is that? Now, the way these attach together, what happens is, depending on whereabouts you are with your patches, etc., what you'll do is you put right sides together, and you can see that that matches perfectly, yeah. And when you want to join them in, you stitch all the way along there with an over sew stitch. So I'm going to thread up, and then I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so I am back with my threaded needle, and like I said, 2 right sides together. And the way you do this is that you're not going to sew through the paper, you're going to avoid the paper. So I start off going into this corner here, and I want to make it nice and secure, so I'll probably go in there a couple of times, avoiding the paper underneath. You can kind of feel it with your needle. As you're doing it, you can feel where the paper is, and thus avoid paper. You're doing really tiny stitches, very small. I've got a bit of floof on there. Tiny weeny stitches that go right next to each other, missing that paper pattern that you have underneath. I'll talk more about that in a minute. I bet there's a whole heap of English paper piece quilters sat staring at this screen, or screaming at the screen at the minute, saying, "What do you think you're doing?" Well, I'm doing it the best way I know how. The lovely Kate said she probably puts about 20 stitches into each side of these 1-inch hexies. So I'm taking her for a word and trying to do about thereabouts 20, because you don't want any gaps. You don't want it falling apart when you put all this hard work into it. And believe me, it's not hard. It's not hard to do, but it's a labour of love. And if somebody ever makes you a quilt made up of all these tiny hexagons, they must love you an awful lot. That's all I can say. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to bash you there. I hope I didn't make anybody feel ill. Juggling of the camera. And yeah, so if someone does make you a quilt, you can be sure that they think a very lot of you, because this is going to take a long time. But I'm kind of setting myself up for this. You'll understand why when I tell you exactly what I'm doing in a minute. I kind of shocked myself when I thought about this. But I thought, if I'm going to do it, it's going to be in for a penny, in for a pound. I've got a lot of fabric. Can you guess? Okay, I'm going to put a couple of stitches right in that very corner, right there, and knot it off. I'll put another one around there, put it tight, and snippy snips, snip. And when we turn it that way, it's like it was never there. It's kind of floating. It's floating to the piece next to it. It's cool, isn't it? Isn't it cool? Tell me I'm wrong. I just think it's really cool and clever. And when you get more pieces on, obviously, they're gonna kind of slot together in the little gaps. It's cool. Really enjoying doing this so far, and I've kind of got grip, so I've made about 100 of these already, And I'm just going to sit and keep making hexagons because my plan, wait for it, is to make 3,000 is to make 3,000 of these, because I want to make a quilt, and my quilt is going to be beautiful bright rainbows, obviously, but I want to make a king size quilt. I'm not going for a cushion, I'm not going for like a pencil case. I think I'm going to go for a king size quilt, so this is going to be a job and a half. But I thought you might like to see what I've been up to, because it kind of distracted me for a whole like 3 days while I've been getting into this. And obviously the thing that's really important about this is making sure that your pieces, what does this one say? 4 kilowatt warm air heating with hot water boiler. Beautiful. Brochures are your friend. They're the right thickness of paper. You don't want really thin paper, so you don't want like photocopy paper when you make your templates for this. And you can get ones that you can print off, and you can also get ones that you buy. And I think they're about £3.82 for 100. And when you want 3,000, you don't want to be spending out that kind of money. So I saw that Kate used her Sizzix machine. If you don't know what that is, I'm about to show you, and I'll show you how I get that, wait a minute, that and that in a really quick way. Bear with, and I'll set up my machine to show you. Okay, first of all, let me show you the dies that I'm going to use. Now Sizzix it's a die cutting method. I have got a Big Shot machine. You can get a Big Shot Plus, you can get other varieties, but basically they all work in a similar way. So the dies I am using are, she said, quickly grabbing the papers from the front because she'll be able to see that better than the black piece. Why didn't I think of that first? So it's this, it's the Sizzix Bigs, and it's got 4 of these little hexagon shapes. So each one of these, when you run it through, you'll get 4, except if you do it my weight and you get 16. So that's that one. And then for the fabric pieces, because this cuts fabric as well, I've gone for this size. So this one is a 1-inch one, because all of my hexies are going to be 1 inch. And so this one is a 1.5-inch one. So it's the next size up, and you get 2 of these for your die. But with your fabric you want to be, I mean, to be honest, you could just buy this or just have this die and cut out all the hexagons and then just cut the fabric around it. But I told you I'm extra, so I got this one as well, which was the 1.5-inch, and I'll show you how that all sets up. So yeah, Sizzix Bigs dies. This one is the inch hexie, this one is the 1.5-inch hexagon. So again, back in a minute with my Big Shot. Okay, so here's my Sizzix Big Shot. She made some space on the table to show you how it works. And what you need is some old brochures, old magazines, you know, like the usual A4 size. Fold it in half, bit of origami to start off with, fold it in half again, and just like that. Like Tommy Cooper now, don't I? Just like that, just like that. So you have ostensibly 4 pieces of paper there. With your Big Shot, you will also have some acrylic plates. And what happens is you'll put one acrylic plate on the bottom, you have your die, can you see that, with the 4 hexagons on it? That goes next. It's like a sandwich. Put your paper on top of that, make sure that it is covering all of the 4 hexagons, and with this one, the way I've done it, it works quite well. Finish off your sandwich with another plate on top, and then you play a bit of Windy Miller and wind it. Sorry if I'm juggling you around a bit. Like that. Et voila! At the other side, take off our plate, take off the bit, and you have got 16 of these little hexagons. They are all, the 16 there, they're all kind of stuck together, which I think is a really clever way of quickly getting your hexy shapes cut. And also you can just sit there and wind and fold. I spent the morning just making hexagons, so I've got a whole pile and heap of them here. I don't know if you can see those there. I got loads. And when I've got a spare minute, I'll just sit and do that again. Now, in order to make your fabric, basically you just do the same thing. You cut your strip of fabric, you get your big hexy block, which is the 1.5 inch one, this one here, and you do it the same again. You just make a sandwich of the acrylic block, the die cutter should I say, and then your fabric lays over the top instead of the piece of paper, and you'll end up with 2 of these. You just keep rolling it backwards and forwards until you've got enough of these. Now this is not an essential part, but it's what I did, so that's why I'm showing you. It's a possibility that you can do this, and it takes out all the hassle of cutting with scissors and making sure your scissors are sharp enough. And anyway, that's what I did. And I'm hoping to, let me move this out of the way without dropping it everywhere, because it's quite a big boy to move it out of the way. So yeah, creaky croaky, here we go. So this is my little kit, and I keep it all in this weird old bread basket. And so I've got my hexies in there. That's not usually in there. My hexies go in there, and I've got a little pair of snippy embroidery scissors. I've got my Pritt stick just to add a little dot onto the hexagon before I put it onto there. And I've got my tacking thread, and I've got some overstitching thread, which is quilting thread that I do to attach the hexagons to each other. So there you go. That's a very quick run, well, I don't know if it was quick, a quickish run through of how I'm putting together my hexagons, and my huge humongous challenge of making 3,000 of these little divils here in order to make my quilt dreams. So I've got my work cut out for me. Again, I'm not going to do it all in one. I'm obviously just going to pick this up. I've been obsessed, as I say, for the past couple of days, but I'm sure that obsession will wane and I'll want to have a little break from them. And I will have a break and make other things, obviously, because I want to make some lovely things for you guys and share it with you. But I thought I'd share this with you in case you were interested in making. You don't have to make 3,000 of them. You can make small things. You can make placemats or whatever the heck you wanted, really. You can, once you've got these, you can make them into whatever you like. I'm just having fun making them at the minute, and I'm just enjoying the rainbow of colours that I'm getting together here. And so I'm going to leave you now. I shall be back later on this week with something else. Not sure quite yet. I've got a few ideas in the pipeline. So like and subscribe and click the bell, and you'll know then when I have uploaded another video, and you'll be able to see all the madness that goes on here at Kooky Towers. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I will catch you in a few days' time. And we'll do other things. Ta-ta for now. Bye-bye.